Okay, it says you're live, so we're just going to trust that it's working.
Mine says it's live as well. So
That's right. Perfect. Awesome. Welcome, everybody, to Vibrant Leadership for Educational Leaders. I am your host, Crystal Atkinson. So excited for today. This podcast is all about really building skills so that you can live a vibrant life, both your personal, professional life and your school life or whatever venue you're in. And being able to talk about real strategies for your real life is just so important to me. This takes like the theory and puts it into practice. And later last fall, when I just started this podcast, I was chatting with Andrea and saying how I had all these ideas of where I wanted to start. And then she reached out and said, "Hey, if you're ever interested in having a guest." And I immediately said yes, because I met Andrea years ago. We both facilitated professional learning all across Alberta together. And she just is the exact epitome of what it means to live a life of balance. And so I'm going to read you her little bio, and then she'll maybe add something to that. And we're just going to get started talking about balance and how you need to take care of yourself. So Andrea Mishio is an early childhood educator and keynote speaker who keeps it real, brings the laughs, and inspires serious reflection. She's walked through burnout and people pleasing. I'm sure there's a few of you out there who've lived that as well, and now helps teachers rise without losing themselves. So welcome, Andrea, speaker, teacher, fit.wonder.womom. Not sure how you pronounce that. Is there anything else you want me to add to that? What am I missing?
no, that's good. Yeah. I don't know. I guess like I've been an educator for 18 years, which seems like crazy. Like I just can't believe it. And I made a big shift kind of when I also started to like learn about balance and life and like what I really wanted to do to like make me happy. So I taught junior high for 16 years and
I
then
didn't know that.
oh yeah. Yeah, I taught junior high for 16 years and then like took a year off cuz I really like almost was out the door of education. I was like, "You know what?
Okay.
Like I had too much. I just wasn't like in it anymore. I wasn't in love with teaching and stuff." And so I took a year off to sub. And that's actually where I found my new passion for now teaching kindergarten. So this is my third year teaching kindergarten. And I just love it. Like it fills my bucket every day. And I think it's just like, I never say I never have a boring day. I have fun and I
Certainly not.
laugh. And it just is like, yes, there are hard moments in it, but the hard
Sure.
moments are just so different and so um on a different avenue that you can just kind of like let it go and
Yeah,
then just be yourself at night.
I
Not the
love
teacher,
that.
but the person.
Yeah, that's so great. I am like middle school teacher. I've taught everything pre-K to 12, but my last year in a K to 9 school, I had my grade 9s who I like fought tooth and nail. I'm like, I'm not losing my grade 9s, but to keep them, I taught kindergarten half time. So I had kindergarten in the morning, and
Oh
then I
my
did some
gosh.
learning support, and then I finished my day with grade 9s, and like so fun.
That's such a
So
wild shift. And to do that in one day, that's a lot, like
I had a
mentally.
really good assistant in kindergarten with me because I really am junior high. I'm not a kindergarten teacher.
Yeah.
Okay. That was fabulous. I'm so excited for this conversation. So, you mentioned walking through burnout yourself. What was the moment you realized that something had to change in your life?
So I guess like I have to precede it with like I had a really big tragedy, I guess you could say, happen in my life. I
Mm,
lost my mom in August of 2020. So if we all look back
okay.
at the calendar, we all know what August 2020 was kind of like a few months into the pandemic and stuff.
Mm,
And so it was right before school had started. And I didn't really know what to do because we weren't having a service or anything like that because my brother, actually at the same time's wife, was due with a baby. So, and they were in Ontario. So we couldn't
mhm.
even do anything. So it just kind of was like, well, I'll just go back to work. And then even getting back to work, and everybody's like, why are you here? Like, you just lost your mom. And I was like, I don't know. Like, I literally didn't know what else to do at that point
Mhm.
because you don't. And then we went to Toronto for Thanksgiving. I went to go visit my brother because he had just had his baby and stuff. And I took my 5 days grievance at that time. My board had very luckily given me like time later on. And
Mhm.
it was like a light switch. I can even tell you, like, when I still go to Toronto now, I can tell you like the exact intersection and everything. And it was like a light switch
Wow.
had gone off in my brain. And I became like so angry. Like I was just done. And I later on discovered that anger is sad's bodyguard. And I never really ever felt sad, but I was always angry. And so I had gone to my doctor right after that, kind of when I got home. And she was like, okay, like you need to deal. You've suffered massive trauma and never mind like going through COVID as something we all can relate
Mhm.
to something that was a hard time. And
Mhm.
my kids at that time were 3 and 5 years old, plus losing my mom and then like having all this stuff. And she was like, you just need to like stop. And I was like, oh, but like, what about my students? And what about this? And what about that? And all this stuff. And then it took like, she was like, no, like, you need
Yeah.
to just let go. And after a while too, like even going to counseling, it was like, oh, she's like, yes, but it took a phone call to replace you at work. It does
Mhm.
not take a phone call to replace you as the human being that you are. And that really resonated with
Ooh,
me. I
yeah,
was
that's
like,
a good
yeah,
one.
that is so true. Like they will phone somebody and somebody will come in through the door and whatever, and they'll teach and the students will be taken care of. But there's not a phone call to replace me as Andrea, as mom, as wife, as like the
Mhm.
person that I am. And so that I was like, okay, I really do need to take a step back and I
Mhm.
really do need to put myself back together in benefit of like my personal family. And then that extends also to like my students and teaching staff and all that stuff. So it was kind of like a wham, hit you in the face kind of moment. And
Yeah.
then,
Yeah, life forced you to really deal with
yes,
everything all at
yeah,
once.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I look back now and I am so thankful that I did it at that time and at that like I got to grieve properly. I
Right.
got to like learn the stages of like what would help me as my character, what I need to do when I do have hardships come and stuff like that. So I really
Mhm.
dived in and just like, okay, so I took the 3 months and I just kind of like really worked on myself and put myself back together and then actually even had like a test a little bit because I went back to work then right after the Christmas break because this was October. So right after Christmas, I had gone back, and then my grandma had passed away in April, and it was like you could feel like the band-aid had just freshly been put on,
Yeah.
and I was like, okay, it's starting to heal and stuff. And then that happened, and it was like, oh my gosh. So I right then and there, like I went back to work one day, and I was like, no, I can feel that
Mhm.
anxiety of like what's happening. So I took the next 5 days off and I was very open with my students too, of letting them know
Mm.
everything that had happened. And I said, look, I'm going to take my 5 days off. And they're like, but you're coming back this time, right? And I was like, well, yes, but if I don't take the time right now, I know where this could be and I will be gone for a long time. Where if I
Right.
take care of myself right now and do this
Mhm.
and go through the things I need to, then I'll be back. And I was. So like I was grateful that I had those building blocks to kind of deal with the
Right.
future as well.
Absolutely. It sounds like you've almost shifted your notion of what balance means, like pre August 2020 in
Mhm.
fast forward up to April, your whole response sounds different. So how does that change look now? Like what does balance mean to you now, having lived through some pretty big events close together?
Yeah. So now I just realize like I need to take care of myself first. And if you don't take care of yourself, then like really nobody else is going to do it for you. Yes, I have a great
Yes.
family and yes, I have all these things, but like if I don't take care of me, they don't know what I need and they don't know those things. So I've
Mhm.
encompassed in my life like I like to work out, so that is how I start my day every day. And everybody's like, "Oh my god, you get up so early and whatever." But like if I don't do that, I just feel anxious and I feel like
Ah,
I can't just like decompress and become myself and just do whatever I need to in that hour and then like go about my day. And so in the summer, like it's a little bit different because we don't have that like the scheduling of like the school and everything like that. but I'll go for walks. And I just know that like when things are starting to build up and when I kind of am noticing thing, I just need to like step back and just kind of
Mhm.
really look and be like, okay, what is it that I need right now? Is it that I just need to go to the gym? Is it that I just need an hour to myself to just read? Is it like just
Mhm.
being around nobody and sitting in quiet? Like I really am able to look at things now to say like, okay, what
Mhm.
is best for me at the moment kind of thing.
You have a really reflective practice now. It sounds like that really has become a priority and you've really mastered it. You've got that self-awareness. You know when you're feeling off. You know that by missing your workout in the morning, you're not going to be set up for a good day. And when you know that about yourself, then you can put those steps in place to take care of yourself.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So cool. You talked, uh, what was it, a little bit ago? You said something about how when you were talking to your doctor, there was a moment when you thought you couldn't go out because what about the students and what about this? And I hear this from teachers all the time. I
Yeah.
work full time as an instructional coach in my division. And I hear this, oh, I can't take a half a day to work with you because what about the students? And I just
Yeah.
think, well, if you don't take time to, improve yourself, what about the students? They're going to get the best version of you. So how do you, Andrea, help teachers recognize that difference between dedication, which, yes, we wouldn't be here if we didn't love teaching and learning. So the difference between dedication and depletion, like,
Yeah.
where does that look for you?
And it's so hard too. Like, and that's what I find teachers have a hard time is like, okay, if you could just leave and say, okay, somebody come in the building and do whatever you want, I bet you a lot more teachers would take advantage of that. But the
Sure.
biggest thing I feel teachers don't want to take the day is having to do that lesson planning step, which I understand like is a big that's and even too I know too, if I need to take a day, I'm like, oh, but it's the lesson plans. But you know
Yes.
what? Like, if you can find that sub or you can find a few people that you can kind of really have in your circle and be like, okay, here's the essential notes of today. These are
Mm-hmm.
the classroom components. This is whatever. You make that up in September and you kind of work off of it all year. So once you've got that component done, it's good. But it's like, you know what? Do you have a craft you want to do? Like I'm teaching kindergarten, so it's different. Do you have a story
Sure.
you would like to teach and something to go with it and pair it? So like I think we need to also realize that like I get there are points in time as well that like sometimes you're working on a lesson and you need stuff and whatever. And like
Mm-hmm.
right now too, I have quite a few days coming up just because I'm doing some leadership and training stuff and I have some teacher convention things. So it is my students are and we're learning to print and I'm very particular about that. But you know what? In the in betweenness, like I need to just find fun moments for them to also like that
Yeah.
eases the stress for me taking off the day and
Yep.
eases the stress for the students as well. Like
Mm-hmm.
we have teachers coming into our building for a reason and to like be there if you that's another thing I will not say. We could go on a whole topic about there not being enough subs in the province to like cover us.
Oh
But
yeah,
if
we're
you're
rural Alberta. Nobody wants to come rural. They're not
oh
here.
yeah, that too. Well, in the city, nobody wants to come here either. So don't worry.
Yeah. Yeah.
um, but I think that's that big component and the drawback for teachers, unfortunately, is the
Yeah.
subplan. So maybe we need to think about easing that stress with some very easy don't go with the like take a break from your lesson plan that day. You know what? Give
Yes.
some easy worksheets. It's a mental break for everybody and just like regroup when you come back, especially if you're really feeling burnt out. Like use those emergency sub plans that you have to create and
Mm-hmm.
stuff like that. Like take a few pages. Nothing is going to deteriorate. If we've learned anything from like going on strike and COVID and all these things is like we are very resilient and
Yes.
kids will catch up. We will make
Yeah.
it up somehow in other factors. We will figure out what it is that they best need to move forward and for ourselves like there's that
Mm-hmm.
big saying like if your bucket is empty you can't fill other. Well, if you have zero, I love the like analogy of like you would never let your battery of your phone go to like zero. Why do you let
Yes.
your own battery do that? So I think we kind of need to balance and just like and that's a lot of the thing that I had to do is just like Anna says or Elsa, sorry, just let it go, let it
Yeah.
go. Like you just have to let it go and
Give
just like,
yourself
you
some
know,
grace is what I'm hearing. Like,
yeah,
not everything needs to be completely planned out to a T.
No.
It's so interesting. I was having this conversation with a high school teacher just a couple of weeks ago, and she was also telling me about these plans. And so I'm like, well, let me see what you're doing. And she showed them to me, and I was like, whoa. I said, I subbed, like, it might have been 20 years ago, but I'm like, you're teaching like an English class. Is there not something they can read and like write a response to? Like, can we not keep this a little bit easier for both you and the sub is not reading your 17 pages of notes. They don't have time. They just don't. So give yourself some grace. I love that.
Exactly.
Yeah, I love that. What do you think the most common lie teachers tell themselves about self-care is? And what's a truth you wish they would embrace instead?
Oh, what's a truth? I think a lot of people think they do self-care, but they don't. Like, you're like, okay, so what do you do?
More. Yeah.
Like, okay, so what do you do when you go home for your self-care? And they're like, oh, well, then I get home and I have to take care of my kids and I have to do this and then I have to do that. And then maybe I have like 10 minutes before I fall asleep. I'm like, yeah, but nowhere in there did you actually say that you took time for yourself.
Right.
So like, you think you're self-caring because you're at home, because you're not at work, but self-care also takes part of like within your house and whatever those dynamics look like. And I understand like it can be hard for some people, but sometimes even with my kids, like I need 10 minutes and I just need, so a big thing, like I switched schools this year and my commute to and from school has always been between 20 and 30 minutes. Well, now my commute to school is 7 minutes. And I didn't realize how much I appreciated that time of like decompression before I got home and just like have self-reflection and whatever on my drive. And then when I entered the door, I could easily roll into that role of mom. And now I'm like, whoa, like they walk in the door and I'm like, nope, I still have 10 more minutes. Like, don't talk to me for 10 more minutes. And then I will be mom kind of thing because I still need the time. So I think, yeah, like that is just it. Like a lot of people think they self-care, but they don't really. Like they have to be able to, what are you doing for you and nobody else?
Yeah, like, I love that. So can you share a specific practice or boundary that's been non-negotiable for you? Like you have your 10 minutes, but what would you say is this specific thing that I do, this practice, it's non-negotiable. This is a part of my well-being that allows you to then show up more fully for others. Like you say, your battery is charged. You're not allowing yourself to go down to that zero. What does that look like for you?
So I would say I have like 3 big things. One is my gym workouts. Like that to me is my thing. And even in the summer, like I will do them. I now have incorporated Pilates, so I go once a week. And so like sometimes I try to work it into like the schedule of like dropping kids off at a sport and then going to do it while they're at their sport and coming back. But sometimes I'm like, doesn't work out always. So it's like, you know what? I need to go to Pilates because it just is just such a different calm and zenness of it. And then my other thing is just like after 8:30, like I said, I'm no longer a good parent after 8:30. Like if you want me to sing you songs and you want me to like read you stories and talk about how your day is fine. But at 8:30, I am done. I want to lay in my bed. I want to watch whatever show I am watching. And that 8:30 to 9 o'clock before I go to bed is when I am emptying everything else and just kind of getting into my zone to be ready to go to bed. So that I think are my 3 big things. And I'm trying to really teach my kids more so than anything. Like, no, I've been asking you since 8 o'clock to get ready for bed and do these things. And now you have to respect that this is now my time. And you just wasted half an hour of your time doing whatever it is that you wanted. So I kind of have like pretty hard boundaries about that. Unless like my husband is at hockey or something, like, yes, you have to ebb and flow, but we always have to do that. But I would say that those are kind of my biggest 3 things just like, okay, this is my chunks of time.
Yeah. And when I think about something that's sustainable, because this is the thing of working in the world of education is everyone has their own personal emergency. Everybody has a demand. The needs of our classrooms, like, oh my goodness, right? Like you and I started 2 decades ago. The needs just keep getting bigger and bigger. And so when we think about wellness, if you have wellness as like that one day on the calendar every 2 months, you've kind of missed the whole boat. Like this is about I have a non-negotiable quiet time at the end of the day. I have a non-negotiable bedtime. I get up in the morning and I do my workout. And I also put in, say, a class of Pilates or something else that just fills my bucket and puts me with other adults who are not teachers, are not,
Yep.
like all of those things as well. It just
Yeah.
changes your whole perspective.
And I think too, just that like quiet time, because as teachers, we just constantly have noise and background and all that
Oh,
kind of stuff. And so like
yes.
when I go to the gym, I like listen to like whatever music I want to or a podcast that I want to, but it
Mhm.
just is like that, like it is quiet and reflective. Like, and if it's too much for me, I'm like, oh, like this is too much or like whatever, I change it because I can. Same thing with Pilates. It is very quiet. It is a very, although you're in a group setting, it is still very individualistic. That's usually pretty calm and stuff like that. And same thing when I'm
Mhm.
watching TV. Like I don't watch or that half an hour before bedtime. I'm not watching anything heavy. I'm not watching anything like it's just light and easy, and I can like watch the same series 100 times over and over. I don't know. I think I've watched Ted Lasso 5 times in the last 3 months because I just know that it's
Yeah.
easy, it's light, it's just as like requiring my brain to relax. And I think
Yeah.
that's the thing too, is like don't also get something to like rev your brain up as well.
Oh, I love that. It's interesting. I'm like going through, I'm like, oh, what do I all have written down? There were so many things. Like I told you, I was so excited for our conversation. And this is literally what I have written down. And you just repeated part of this. I said, you bring humor to serious work. This is what Andrea does. How does laughter play a role in helping educators find balance when everything feels heavy? You were
Oh my
just talking
gosh.
about it. I'm like, oh my goodness, I couldn't have timed
That's
that better.
so awesome. You couldn't have. Like, you have to laugh, like, and I think that is
Mhm.
the thing. Enjoy the little moments in your classroom, enjoy having fun, like, oh my gosh, like, today, like, some kid, he was like, oh, like, whining about putting on his snow pants. He's like, "Oh, I have to put on my crybaby pants," and I'm like, "Why are they your crybaby pants?" Like, and then the kids are all laughing and whatever, and we all just, like, have this, like,
Yeah.
humor kinda thing. I also too, like and I was talking to our secretary today, I was like, like, when kids get hurt, I try to deflect from them and try to make it light rather than having things. So like a kid bumped his head on the ice today or something and I'm like, well, it's a good thing your brains didn't fall out because could you imagine like what kind of thing you would
Right?
be? And it kind of like them too, they kind of like stop and
Oh,
they're like, what? And they kind of forget about crying. They kind of forget about all the other things. So I think
right.
that's also too with the humor thing. Or I had another kid like scrape it. He like almost road rashed his nose from like the ice just because it's that time. I
Right.
was like, well, it's a good thing your nose didn't fall off, kind of thing and stuff. So I think just like finding those humor moments, like
Yeah,
just
have
let it be
fun.
like we have fun. Like right now today, the Olympics are on. Like I put on half an hour while they did their a little bit of work. Like if they weren't too distracted, which they weren't, thankfully. And so
Yep.
like just also like being yourself too. Like, and I think too, just leaning into that and just like, oh, I made a mistake and like making fun of
Yeah.
yourself as well. It just, you can't go through the day being like, "Mm, mm, mm." And I am a teacher who is like, follow the rules and do all these things. But I
Right.
also have to let in the light of like those funny moments and let's embrace them
Mhm.
because life is way too short and we just need to have
Sure.
fun sometimes. Well,
Oh, I
no, not
couldn't agree
sometimes. We
more.
need to have fun and laugh every day. And as long as
Yeah.
you can find that moment, then that's what you need to do.
Yes. Yeah. And it's just so powerful. It's a powerful shift that I feel like we all need to prioritize in our lives. Like you said earlier, nobody else is going to show up to take care of you but you. Like
Yeah.
that really has to be on us. Our employers can give us benefits, but we have to use them. They
Hmm.
can, we can have days, but it's what we do with the time. So, yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
If you were to go back in time and
Okay.
tell yourself like
Mhm.
back to as you were, in that people pleasing former self of yours and um, first experiencing your burnout, what's one thing that you would have told yourself about balance in that moment?
Oh, that's a good question. What would I think just like again too, like look out for your future self kind of thing. Like, how is
Um,
this going to benefit me later kind of thing?
mhm.
How is this going to impact what I do later? And like we kind of said earlier, like I got into a point in my career where I wasn't enjoying it. I like
Mhm.
dreaded going to work every day. I like, oh, you just had that like negative attitude about everything. And I think it just wasn't too like just like encompassing and it was like all these things. And I know that change can be super hard and we all get into our little groove and we get into like this is what I teach and this is who I am and this is what I am. But if those things aren't bringing you joy anymore, then why are we
Mhm.
doing those things? And I have vowed to myself ever since then, too, I will only do things that bring me joy. I will only even eat things that bring me joy. Like if I don't like a cookie,
Yeah.
I have no shame in like throwing the rest of it out if I have a bite and I'm like, "Ooh, that's not it." Because why are we pleasing others to do stuff that you don't know if it's going to reward yourself, your future self
Mhm.
kind of thing. So I think that is also a big thing. Like it's just like what is it that I need to do for myself to thank my future self or to help my future self kind of thing. And there are some
Mhm.
hard things you're going to have to do. Like I'm not going to say that like I put
Absolutely.
in my time coaching, I did all those things like in those, but obviously too my family dynamics were very different. I was
Yeah.
married. I had a husband who worked all the time anyway, so like to do
Yeah.
all that stuff was that. But then once I started having kids, it was like, you know what? My shift now needs to be on my personal
Mm.
children versus everybody else's children. And I've had this
Right.
discussion a lot with my girlfriends lately because a lot of them are having a hard time, especially since like the strike and all these things that we've had. Like, why is it that we need to do all these extra things to help and improve other kids, families, whatever, when we should
Right.
be focusing too on our kids and families and whatever. So I've really had that shift in like with my girls
Yeah.
hockey. I used to never do anything. I would show up, I was the mom, I was whatever. But this year I've done a lot more. I've been bench mom. I like to do the penalty box. I like to work the clock and all that stuff. And my
Yeah.
girls love seeing that. And I understand, but I have to draw a line too. Like
Mhm.
this is my job and my students, and this is my life. So like
Okay.
there are two very different things. And I think you have to realize that those are different dynamics.
Yeah. Yeah. We're like coming to the end, and I have like two things left that I wanted. And the first question I was thinking is, what are you still learning about balance right now? And I almost feel like you just touched on that.
Yeah. Like it's so much, but like as my girls get older as well,
Mhm.
and everybody says it always goes by so fast and you don't realize that you're in it. And I say, like, every weekend we have been all around Alberta since like the beginning of January, driving them everywhere. But then,
Right.
like, today I kind of reflected. I'm like, yeah, but when am I going to have that time again? When am I going to have those chats again with
Yeah.
them? When am I going to like have see those smiles on their face? Like my daughter this weekend had won her cheerleading competition and won a gold medal at a hockey tournament. Like,
Oh,
when is
wow.
that ever going to happen again? And then you see like
Yeah.
the Olympics and stuff, and it's just like I need to just focus on that and see like
Oh, I love
also
that.
being a female role model for they both play on girls hockey teams and saying
Mhm.
like, hey, I used to play this sport as well. And just that shift of like you can impact other kids in different ways rather than just being at
Oh,
your job or
absolutely.
school.
Yes. Oh, absolutely. And you're so right. Like when people tell you it goes fast, my oldest daughter's just graduating from university and my youngest is halfway through her program. And it just, how does this happen? Yeah.
Yeah.
So to finish up, what is one small shift, just one thing that an educator who's listening right now could make this week to move closer towards sustainable, balanced in their life?
I would say, like, and I know it sounds cliche and everything, but really try to carve out that time. Like, make it
Mhm.
a non negotiable, put it on, like, put a 5 minute timer on your watch, put a 10-minute timer, but just like really just, if it's just laying down and just being quiet for 5 minutes. And some people have a really hard time just doing that. And if that's really hard to start with, then that's what you do. Like, I said, do something that gives you joy. And if
Oh,
you
yeah.
want to read some trash book that you've been waiting to read and you've been putting it off, well, why not just read it for 5 minutes? Or if you
Mhm.
love to, like, I don't know, play pickleball, like go phone a friend and go play pickleball. If you want to, like, do that craft that you haven't done in forever, like,
Yeah.
just carving out that 5 minutes a day and then building upon that. If you're like, "Oh, I'm
Mhm.
gonna do an hour every day and whatever, it's not gonna work. Like you kind of
Right.
have to build it in and little implements are so much easier to attain and be successful than having these huge, large goals. And I think that goes for anything, that just small increments at a time makes such a
Mhm.
big difference.
Small increments that bring you joy. And I wrote down future self just to
Yes.
remind myself. Okay,
Yes.
Crystal, future self. Are you taking care of your future self in those small moments of joy? Thank you so
Exactly.
much for this conversation, Andrea. If you're new to Vibrant Leadership for Educational Leaders, in the show notes when this is posted, wherever you listen to podcasts, I will put her contact information. She like, I didn't know she was a junior high teacher because she's been early education the last few years that I've known her, but
Yes, I
she's
have.
just such a wonderful, vibrant keynote speaker who really does keep it real. Like, you really are that real person who shows up and shares the truths about what it's like to be a full-time working mom with busy daughters and all of the things. So thank you so much. If you haven't already, be sure to follow the show and share this with your friends. We know that's how we get this out, to help other people create a vibrant life, because the more we build the skills as leaders, whether you're leading from the classroom, leading from the middle, or leading from the front, we are all leaders, and we all need to be building these skills in ourselves so that we can have a long, vibrant career and not leave it running because we're tired of it. Because education really is a beautiful, beautiful way to spend our life. So thank you so much, Andrea, and we will be in touch again, I'm sure.
Yes, thank you so much for having me. It was an honor.
Yes, thank you. Okay,